Welcome to Meldon Law and Friends. We have a great show for you today. My good friend Bob Rose, who's a very famous news talk celebrity in Gainesville for almost 24 years now. We are going to have Bob on as our guest, and he and I have known each other for many, many years since we both started at the Sky, WSKY in Gainesville. Bob, I think, started in the beginning of 2002. 2002. I started later that year, like September. So for 22 years or so, we have been good friends, and it's going to be a real privilege to have Bob on the show. Anyhow, getting back to what's going on in the community, the Gator baseball team surprised everybody and did great out in Omaha. I had the privilege of going to Omaha and hanging out for one game Saturday night, which actually didn't finish until Sunday morning. Unfortunately, Texas A&M beat the Gators and then wound up beating them again the following week and eliminated us. However, we wound up third in the World Series, which was pretty good considering we were the only team that was unseeded, meaning all the other teams were actually in the top 12 in the country. We had a tough time during some parts of the season because we had a young pitching staff. So kudos to the Gators for doing a great job out in Omaha. For those of you that follow track and field, the Gator track and field team is doing great, and we're going to see lots of Gators in the Olympics this summer in France. So keep an eye out for that. The Gainesville Area Women's Network silent auction June 26th. Their team members are going to be putting together a silent auction to benefit displaced homemakers in the community. It's going to be at Santa Fe College, and it offers educational assistance, support to empower people to transition back into the community in great ways, primarily working in the home. Many of the women involved have lost financial support after a life-changing event. And that's going to be on Wednesday, June 26th, at Sweetwater Branch. So just Google Gainesville Area Women's Network, GAWNS, silent auction, June 26th. And our team from Meldon Law is going to be there to participate and help. Ocala Wind rocks the Riley on June 29th at 7 p.m. I've been out there many times, and I love the Riley. It's a small enough venue, so everybody has a great seat. And if you like Journey and Bon Jovi, tribute bands for both are going to be there. So, don't stop believing. We're going to have great music in North Central Florida in Ocala. So check them out. I highly recommend the Riley shows. They have partnership with Wind, and every month or so they bring in a top-notch tribute band that does great work. And when I went to the Tom Petty show last month and had a blast. The music was great. It was fun. The crowd was into it. So let's take advantage and support the arts. There's arts all over the local community. The Riley's great. Check out World Equestrian Center. It's free to go out there unless you're carrying a horse in there, and then I understand it's $200 to get through the gates. However, the World Equestrian Center is awesome. We had Vincent Meal, who's the mayor of WEC, here last episode, and he really laid it out how incredible a resource we have right in our community. So take advantage of the World Equestrian Center. We're also promoting other things in Ocala, the Adena Golf Course. My son Kerry and I got a chance to play golf with Coach Todd Golden and Dr. Pete Indelicato last week, and we're all amazed at what a great golf course we have right here in our community in North Central Florida. This is one of the best golf courses in the state. So check it out. Ask for Patrick and tell him Jeffrey Meldon sent you. It'll blow your mind. They have waterfalls that drop 40, 50 feet. They have elevation changes on the holes. They've got huge quarries that you hit the ball over. It obviously, I lost a lot of balls, but that's how it goes, and we had a great time. A couple other things. Lake City Rotary Club, July 4th Festival. The Rotary Club in Lake City and the city of Lake City are presenting the Downtown Independence Day Festival. Bring your chairs, blankets, find the perfect spot to enjoy a day of full fun. And it begins at 3 p.m. at the Darby Pavilion, downtown Lake City. And they're going to have a hot dog eating contest. Yeah, so I heard that the Coney Island contest this year is going to be without the star performer, Joey, I forgot his last name. Chestnut, that's it. Zach, thank you. And it's going to leave a big hole in the competition. However, he signed up with a different eating contest, so that's going to be fun. They're going to have, in Lake City, we're going to have the most patriotic contest, a car show, food trucks, vendors, kid zones, and live bands. Lake City is doing great. Meldon Law opened our office there a few years ago, and we love our friends in Lake City, Live Oak, and the Tri-County area, including Hamilton County. So check us out if you're there. Other things, the PAVE Rally. We are helping sponsor the giveaway of 3,000 backpacks for school kids this year in Alachua County. It's going to be at Santa Fe College, and it's on July 27th, Saturday, July 27th at 9 o'clock. It's Stop the Violence Back to School rally. Our good friend Carl Anderson, Reverend Carl Anderson, has been sponsoring this for over 20 years, and his goal is to create constructive citizens within our community and keep guns out of the hands of those that are irresponsible, which is a notable goal. The Meldon Law team, we are taking the whole team over to the Ritz-Carlton Amelia Island for our summer vacation with a stated goal of to see how the Ritz-Carlton treats their customers. At Meldon Law, we always say we want to deliver the Ritz-Carlton experience to our clients. And what better way to do it than to have our entire team experience it themselves? So that's going to be a great time. We'll get back with you and let you know how it turned out. However, I'm sure that everybody is going to learn from it as well as have a great time. So we're really looking forward to continuing to enhance the client experience. When people are in a crash and they're severely injured, it's not easy. You know, you've lost your car, you may be injured, you can't go to work. A lot of folks rely on getting a paycheck, and if you can't work and you can't get a paycheck, it stresses everybody out. We realize that at Meldon Law, and it's our mission to try to make the experience as easy, as painless, and as helpful as possible to help put lives back together after serious injuries suffered in an accident. So keep us in mind. You can get a hold of us at the office, 352-373-8000, or go to meldonlaw.com. Last but not least, Meldon Law Facebook page. We are continuing to give away tickets for musical events, sporting events, whatever is going on. Just go to our Facebook page and like us and connect with us, and we'll let you know every time there's a contest. We've had dozens and dozens, probably hundreds of winners. So we have great tickets. Meldon Law is the only official injury law firm partner of the Florida Gators, and they let us score great tickets that we in turn give away to folks within the community. So remember that. Meldon Law, you matter most, and we won't back down. Those are we used to be you matter most, and then we made our deal with the Gators, and they said, oh, well, we ought to change it to won't back down. And we are here at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in our podcast room, getting ready for our interview with our good friend Bob Rose. And I want to mention that everything here at Spurrier's is awesome, okay? If you haven't been out here to Spurrier's, you're missing a terrific opportunity to really have fun. It's a museum. It's a great restaurant, and the people that come here are awesome. So let's support Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. This is where all the recruits come now for all the sports. You'll see the head ball coach, Steve Spurrier, out here all the time, and he loves meeting friends and yucking it up and telling stories. So take advantage of what we have right here in North Central Florida. It's awesome. Anyhow, that's what's going on in North Central Florida in Meldon Law. And I'm Jeffrey Meldon, founder and attorney at Meldon Law. We're going to take a short break and be back on Meldon Law and Friends.
Jeffrey, what are you doing?
Well, I'm joining the band, of course. Since Meldon Law is the official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, I want to help.
Dad, we're litigators. Let's stick to helping people in the courtroom.
Well, can we still hang out and jam a little bit? At Meldon Law, we won't back down.
I was going down a one-way street and a girl that was driving her car T-boned me on my scooter. I ended up going for an MRI and discovering that I had 2 herniated discs. Coming to Cary allowed me to not have to worry about what doctor I was going to see or what physical therapist I had to go to. They say, these are the people we trust. You're going to have a great experience there. And I honestly did each time.
Call Meldon Law. Your consultation is absolutely free.
Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
And I was in an accident. Someone ran a red light and hit me, and I was hurt. You don't know where to turn. Luckily, I called Jeffrey. These big insurance companies, they don't want you to win. They truly don't. But Jeffrey and his firm and the people that work here, they just really fight for you. You call the law offices of Jeffrey Meldon because you're going to need help, and they will help you.
Call Meldon Law right now.
Hey, Sammy, look who's there. Say hi.
Hey!
You again!
Meldon Law, Jeffrey speaking.
Jeffrey! somebody
hit
else
us.
hit us
Yeah,
here.
Here we go again.
After the car accident, your personal life takes a toll when you have major injuries. Being a mother of 3 kids, having to work, it became overwhelming. Didn't know what was going to be my outcome, but Meldon Law actually, they went above and beyond.
At Meldon Law, we're not just your legal team, we're your support system. You do not have to go through this alone. At Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends. I'm Jeffrey Meldon, founder and attorney at Meldon Law. I'm very privileged today to have my good friend Bob Rose with us today to talk about what's going on in the world in North Central Florida. How you doing today, Bob?
Fantastic. Thanks
Nice
for
seeing
inviting
you,
me.
man.
Usually the roles are switched. I'm interviewing you. You've been on my radio show for 22 years now because I think I got hired and very soon after that you started doing a weekend show on the Sky.
So I started September 2002.
Okay, so I was there in December of 2001.
Okay, so less than a year.
Yeah.
And so the secret is Bob sits in his chair Monday through Friday, 6 to 10 at the Sky, right?
Right, 97.3.
Right? And I go in on Saturday morning at 10:30, and for 22 years I put my ass in the same seat that Bob sits in. I never sit in the other side, okay, except when I'm being interviewed by you.
Right, and I don't give out legal advice on my show. I always defer to you. So,
well, it's been pretty incredible run for both of us. I've taught you about uninsured motorist coverage.
that was huge, and I can't tell you how many people came up to me and thanked me for that. I mean, one interview reached so many people and made a difference. Because if you don't have that, and now so many people are underinsured or not insured at all, and they hit you, you're in bad shape if you don't have that.
I know. And so, what we try to do is keep things simple enough so people have, they can keep one thought in their mind, right? It's like, go talk to your local insurance agent, the guy around the corner that's been doing this for 20 or 25 years, and have them review your insurance and see if it is adequate.
Well, because you've been on the other side of it when you've had clients come in and they have this terrible sob story about what happened to them through no fault of their own. And you have to give them the heartbreaking news. Hey, there's nobody to sue. There's no one to go after here.
So my favorite clients are the ones that they're in a crash and they don't have enough coverage. And then I look at their policy and I say, go and do this. And then 3 or 4 or 5 years later, they come back and they said, we got uninsured motorist coverage. We're excited about it.
I mean, there's lots of people that are like, home run businesses and mom and pop operations. And if they're out of a vehicle and hurt and nobody else is covering their costs, it's bad.
I know. So let's talk a little bit about Bob Rose. How did you wind up in Gainesville?
Well, let's see. I was working at WDBO in Orlando.
But you were a rock DJ, right?
Well, right before that, I worked for the same company, for Cox Media, and I'd been with them for a while, and I saw an opportunity to make the switch over to talk, and I pestered the program director over there, and I went in his office like, I'm Bob Rose, and, I can do this and I can do that. Because we worked for the same company. He was just across town. Of course he knew who I was, I thought. How embarrassing. At the very end, he says, well, if you leave me a tape and a resume, which is the standard blow-off line in the industry. Once somebody says that, it's over. And so I left there with a big lump in my throat and knew I'd made a fool of myself. I called this guy, Pete Spriggs, about an hour later. And I said, hey, I have to apologize. He started laughing. He says, no need. He says, I know who you are now. Oh. And he says, but I keep my head buried on what I'm focused on, so I don't pay attention to the other stations. And he gave me a shot. He says, I'll put you on the air Sunday in the middle of the day during football season, and you don't have a Led Zeppelin record to go to. Just keep talking. And that's how it started. And then Sean Hannity became available for syndication down there, and they didn't want to lose him, and we had a competitor that would have taken him and run him live. So that displaced me because I was on in the afternoon at that point.
Right.
And I saw this job opening in Gainesville. I said, that's a smaller market, but I know it's a great town. Been here many times. Was already a Gator fan. I said, and I didn't want to leave Florida. My parents were getting older then. And I said, what the heck? And I sent an email to the program director, and he responded right away. Right. Andrew Lee, rest in peace. What a great guy. And he said, oh, I know who you are. I used to be in Orlando, and yeah, come on up. I want to talk to you. And that's where it started.
So you start in December of 2001. Let's talk about what it was like in radio at that time versus the way it is now. What are some of the major changes you've seen?
Well, obviously, when they relaxed the rules a few years prior to that, that's when you had large companies kind of gobbling up a lot of stations. These were radio stations, they were making good money. So, capitalists saw opportunities, capital investments, and they went after these stations. Well, once the economy turned down a couple of times, then they start to thin out the herd, and then you got few and few people. And so I cannot believe how little of a staff that we have, and we're still able to deliver what I think is a pretty good quality product.
No, it's amazing because when I first started going out there to hang out with you and Bill Morris and all the GMs that were there and stuff like that, the place was jammed, and people were looking for office space to can I use this and can I use that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And now it's I can yell in the hallway, hello. But part of that is we have a great sales team. They really do a good job, and they don't need to be there all the time. And when COVID happened, even I was broadcasting from home, and the quality I thought was still very, very good, and we had 2 huge ratings periods during that time. So I'm like, yeah, I kind of like this. Just about the time I liked it, they said, you need to come back.
I know. Yeah, a lot of your listeners would mention, I think Bob's over in St. Augustine. Is that where you were?
Well, no, when I actually did the broadcast, I did them from the house in Keystone. And like I said, no problems or issues there. But yeah, then they wanted me to come back, and so I got a little bit of a drive. But I love it. I still every day get up and love what I do. I feel blessed.
I'll tell you something. In our office right now, we went remote with COVID, and we've now found that it's really important to try to get people back in the office because there is a creative process.
There is an energy there. There's a teamwork kind of concept, and I think we've struck a bit of a balance there where some of the sales folks and others will come in on a regular basis. So the team is together, just not every single day. But, if you've worked at home before, and I'm sure you have, sometimes you can be really productive when nobody else is coming in your office every 5 minutes.
That's the story I hear from my teammates that want to work from home. Right?
It's all on your perspective, right?
I get the word. I've got to focus in on this project, Jeffrey. So I'm not going to come in this afternoon, or I'm not coming in at all today. And the fact is, our teammates are really good, and they do a good job. So the only reason that we're really trying to get people back in is to recreate the creative process that we used to have, and that when people are only working remotely, it's different.
Well, yeah, and you can see the energy between me and my co-host and producer, Greg Cassidy.
Who I love. Greg, how long have you been with Greg now?
I want to say coming up on 7 years. It has flown by. He's absolutely the consummate radio professional, and he's just an awesome guy on top of it. So, I mean, to have a work partner, what I call my work wife, he probably didn't like that, but, to have a work wife like that, I'm blessed again, I have to say.
Not only that, I think Greg told me that that's his real name.
Yeah, but he's not related to any famous Cassidy. Not Hopalong, remember Ted Cassidy, Lurch? You rang.
Butch Cassidy and the not related.
Not related. And David Cassidy, the Partridge Family. No, so he's the least famous Cassidy, but he's famous around here.
So anyhow, you guys are on Monday through Friday, 6 to 10. Okay, and You know what's amazing is in Alachua County, North Central Florida, we have a wide spectrum as far as politics and, different opinions. And I get more folks that listen to you. They'll come up to me, and I know their politics aren't, like right wing, and they listen to you all the time. How do you explain that?
Well, I try to make it fun, compelling, tell stories. Yeah, I'm strong in my opinions, but I think we try to find a way to lighten it up. It's first thing in the morning. You're on your way to work. I don't want to scare your cup of coffee out of your hand, So, yeah, sometimes we have to talk about subjects we're not happy with. But if we can lighten it up a little bit, I think people really appreciate that.
That's great. Now, how do the opinions of your listeners that call in and talk with you about what they think, how do they affect your formulating your own opinions?
I just consider myself a person who, although not highly educated, I think I have a gift of logic. And so that's my foundation. That is the meter in which I scale myself. So I always listen with an open mind. And I think that I'd like to pride myself in the fact that I actually do listen. There's a lot of people that do things similar to me, and they're not really listening. They're thinking about their next segment or their next thing. But I like to listen because even if I'm not agreeing with the person on the line, I might find a little nugget, a little something that I might have missed, or they presented it in a different way. And I say, hey, wait a second, you got something there.
Yeah, I think that's true. As lawyers, that's kind of what we do, right? We go and say, we're negotiating, right? And you need to listen. We sent our lawyers up to take an advanced course in negotiations last month, and they came back with all these ideas. And one of the number one things was ask questions of the people that you're talking about. So you bring them out and you find out what their thoughts are, what's the basis for their opinion, right? And you might just learn something.
Let me tell you everything I know about negotiations, and it won't take long. You ready? The first one that speaks loses. That's all I know.
I tell that to our junior lawyers. Like, listen, you might learn something. So let's talk about the importance of a live talk radio show in the community, because more and more, there's more and more opportunities for people to get content, whether it's listening to the radio, whether it's going online, whether using streaming and or TV or whatever it is. Let's talk about it. What is your thought as far as the importance of live talk radio, where people can actually call in from the community and interact with you and Greg?
Well, like you said, there's so many fragmented ways that people can get their information now. So how can I remain relevant? And being live definitely gives me an advantage. Being on in the morning is an advantage. As news is breaking, we're all over it. From a local perspective, if there's traffic happening, and what's the main artery through our area? I-75. And like this morning, it was shut down. And so we're right on top of it, telling people what's going on so they know. Hopefully it gives them a heads up. They can avoid it. If we're talking about pocketbook issues, like you look at your utility bill and you're wondering why it's so high, hey, listen to the show and we'll explain how GRU is run by the city and some of the decisions they made now reflect the higher prices that you're going to pay, and they're still trying to claw their way out of a heavy debt load. So that's something that people, hey, we get that thing every month and we look at it and many times not happy.
So why is it that the morning show always dominates?
I think that people are in their cars, and that's a big one. So, yeah, I consider it somewhat of a captive audience. But now, I mean, even there, they have other options. So, hey, I'm the local guy. You can call in. You can hear other people express their opinions. That First Amendment right of free speech is alive and well. Whereas if you're tuning into something, say, on the satellite or whatever, that's not going to have that local feel. Look, when I talk about the Gators, it's because I've sat in those stands. You know what I mean? And so I can relate to people. Like I said, I was a Gator fan before I even moved here. the kids were little when we moved here. I said, we're all going to be Gators, right, kids? And they're like, sure, Dad. But they all have been.
And they
Thank you,
still
Lord.
are.
All three of them, yeah, graduated from the University of Florida.
I know you're very proud of your kids. And,
Despite my best efforts, they've turned out well.
Yeah, no, you got one going into medical school, another a PA, and what's
Yep.
the third one doing?
Kaylee was working with kids with autism and stuff. And she'd been doing that kind of work for a long time. And she got her master's degree and worked over a period of years for that. And she was just kind of getting burned out a little bit. So she's kind of taking a break, but still working. And something that I think is going to turn into something bigger down the road, she loves baking. So she works for a bakery. Yeah. And she has a gift. And that might actually turn into something big. She says, I know I'm not making any money, but you know what? I love it and I'm having fun. I said, life's short.
Hey, I think it's an important balance to do what you love, right? Mm-hmm. And also find something where you can earn enough money so that you can do the things that you want to do in life.
Sure. Right? Yeah, the basic necessities. And then, of course, I noticed the younger generations, well, both my girls were over to Europe twice before I made the trip over. I mean, the young people, they get up and go.
No, I think that's absolutely true. I really think that radio has, particularly live radio like yours, we love being involved with, being a sponsor on your show because it's local, people are listening, it's really a community forum, right?
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
It's one. I mean, you get people on there, and some of them are. Let me ask you this: can you recall the craziest or some funny things that have happened as far as people calling in?
Well, I can tell you one time when I was still in Orlando, I got a call from a guy who sounded very distressed, and he was on the air. And it turns out that this guy was holed up on Disney property, and law enforcement was like waiting for him to come out. And I was very instrumental in the process of talking him down. Wow. And so he came out and no harm was done. But so that was like, talk about being right in the middle of it live. That I'll always remember that. And then when I get a call from somebody who says, yep, you told me that I'm stronger than that and that I should quit smoking. And he said, and I have, in 7-10 years, something like that. So those are the little things that go, yeah, people actually pay attention sometimes.
What do you do if somebody's called in and they won't stop talking?
Well, you got to let them go. And it's content, and people's attention span is not long, and you've got to be concise and get your thought out. And I think there's a mistake of some very intelligent people that call in, and I'm happy that they do, but they want to hit 2 or 3 topics all in one call. It's like, we learned this a long time ago in advertising. If you give somebody a laundry list, they won't remember your message. But if you keep it simple, like meldonlaw.com, they'll forget half of what we talked about, but maybe they'll remember that versus the laundry list. Well, let me tell you about what's going on in Russia. Let me tell you about this. That's, you got to rein them in.
Messaging is really crazy. So we start our partnership with the Florida Gators, and we're the official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Right?
That's huge.
So it was great, and our good friend Freddie Wiebe was our teammate, who's our marketing consultant, who brought us the deal.
Marketing genius, I think.
Marketing genius. However,
this
was something that was crazy, and nobody anticipated it. We're marketing ourselves the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. And so many people thought that we were only doing legal work for the University of Florida.
Oh, wow, okay.
Well, I didn't think of that either.
Right.
So, and my son Kerry goes, Dad, any lawyer that's on the radio or TV or buses or billboards or whatever, everybody knows they're personal injury lawyers. Well, apparently that wasn't the case.
Wow.
So we changed the name from the official law firm partner of the Florida Gators to the official injury law firm partner of the Florida Gators. And then I think people figured out, oh, they're injury lawyers. They do.
Yeah, look, you've had a great partnership with the University of Florida, but you also were involved in the community via athletics through the Scholar Athlete of the Week, which I think was a tremendous successful marketing tool.
Yeah, and we just celebrated our 25th anniversary. And we rented out the stadium.
Oh, that's right, and invited a bunch of people back, right?
Yeah, all 750. I think I was on your show recently. We mentioned that, but it was great, and we had the head ball coach, Steve Spurrier, there, and Buddy Martin, who is an incredible journalist.
Well, we have to mention we are sitting in Steve's house,
That's
the
right.
house that Steve built.
Yeah, everybody listening, again, we always want to pay homage to, head ball coach Steve Spurrier and Freddie Wiebe, who built this incredible museum and restaurant here that's really a fun experience for all of us.
And I think one of the things that's a winning formula is, the head ball coach shows up very often and really talks to everybody. And I know because I was one of those people. We had a Christmas party here. Charisse, Rivers from Zinnia Wells, she put it together really for a lot of our staff from the station. And she actually she wanted to make sure that Steve was coming and his wife. They were just so great. And, he's really attached. He's really involved in the restaurant. That makes a difference.
Well, because his last coaching job was like 3 or 4 years ago. And now he gets to come here and, tell stories because if you know Steve Spurrier, he loves telling stories.
Yes, I had to straighten him out on a couple of things that had to do with the Sugar Bowl back in the day. But other than that, he was very patient with me.
He thinks he knows every statistic. Okay?
Well, he does know his stuff. And
he knows his stuff pretty darn
and if you know me, every once in a while, I just try to see if I can just wedge in there a little bit and see if I can rile you up, and he was way too gracious.
So I wanted to find out what your thoughts are as far as some of these big issues that we deal with, because I know you have a conservative bend, but like on global warming, for example, what are your ideas as far as how to deal with whatever's going on? Well,
that's interesting because can we argue that the climate is changing or not? I don't know. I'm not an expert. Let's say temperatures are rising. Is it man-made? I think that's an argument that you need to address first, because I know in the past we've had high CO2 levels, but there were no SUVs or fossil fuels then. So can you make that natural connection? And then the other thing is despite all of our best efforts, and we've made great efforts, and we've really cleaned things up from a pollution standpoint, but if we don't get Russia and China and India on board, aren't we we're a drop in the bucket? Not only are we wasting time, but let's say this climate change thing is really substantial. And some people really believe it is. What are we doing? What do we have in reserve to prepare to adapt? We're humans. We can adapt. And we can create things that'll make a difference. But if all your money's already spent because everybody has to have a battery-operated car, et cetera, then what do we have in reserve when we truly need to adapt?
Well, I do think that human beings adapt, right? And that with all the resources that we have now, that there will be adaptation in the future. I've heard, though, that the methane gas that cows put into the atmosphere is even worse than all the cars in the world.
That seems hard to believe. And then the other thing is what about natural phenomena? Like, what kind of damage does a volcano do in terms of spewing out CO2? I mean, that's an incredibly massive amount that changes the weather, and planes can't even fly around it for a time period.
Well, I have this brilliant idea. If, in fact, cows, are causing a lot of the problem. We need to figure out some device to put on their rear end to
Capture it.
Capture it.
Yes. Capture it and use it.
So we're gonna talk to all our cattle ranch friends and figure out.
I talk to the Florida Ag Commissioner, Wilton Simpson, on a regular basis. I don't know if he's heard that one yet, but I'll see if I can get that one on the air.
Wilton Simpson is really a good guy.
Oh, yeah, he's sharp. He knows his stuff. And ag, it's very important to Florida, but I forgot that, he's head of over, all the gas stations, for instance. I mean, remember, that's certificates on that, stickers on there. And, I mean, it's unbelievable, every area that he has to cover.
Yeah, no, do you know, he's actually been a good friend of the consumers and the trial lawyers, because he recognized that that the insurance industry has to be kept in check, and that he's tried to create a balance, because every time you give a benefit to the insurance industry and they say they're going to lower your insurance rates and they don't, basically what that means is, I guess, we're paying for the insurance company to be more profitable.
Yeah, I mean, you have to find a balance. We see one of the biggest issues facing us as homeowners is the cost of homeowners insurance. And that's really hitting hard, especially for people that are on a fixed income. And with the economy already, the inflation rate, I mean, people are struggling.
Yeah, and you do have to take a realistic look at, why are insurance companies leaving the state, because, they're in the business to make money.
And the less competitive, meaning there's less insurance companies, is only going to hurt the consumer.
Right. And I always like to think that the insurance companies should give all of us in north central Florida, where we don't really have the hurricane threat that they have on the...
Exactly. We're inland. I mean, we live in Keystone. We're about 64 miles almost exactly from both coasts. We're as safe as you can be, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, the worst that happens with us is, some flooding, right?
Right.
And some tree branches fall on the electric lines and cut out power.
Well, here's an idea, and you're somebody who could capitalize it, because, Jeffrey, you've been doing this a long time, and I know you're not a poor man. So you could actually start an underwriting and start your own insurance company. And there are people who have done this, like Tower Hill Insurance. They see an opportunity and they captured it, and they're one of the largest now. I could see that on the horizon. Meldon Homeowners Insurance.
Well, I would be glad to act as a consultant to give them suggestions. And, one of the main suggestions I would have is evaluate the risk based on where you live. Facebook can pinpoint, anything to a 2 or 3 block area. The insurance carriers should, realize that our risks are different than coastal communities.
Well, absolutely. Just like your risks are different if you own a car, and your car insurance in different communities have a higher rate of accidents, more congestion, et cetera. So your rates are going to vary based on that. So I don't know why they couldn't do the same thing when it comes to homeowners insurance.
Yeah. And we're in north central Florida, not on the coast, right?
Right.
So,
base it on risk. That's what you're in. You're in the risk business.
So to all of you on the coast, I feel your pain as well, because look, if you want to live in Cedar Key, that's a beautiful community. We love Cedar Key. We love going over there. However, you're going to get whacked, and it may be once every year or once every 5 years. However, it's a reality. And,
yes,
and
you got to accept that.
So I understand you're going to Sturgis for the motorcycle rally.
I am. I think this has been going on for about 80 plus years, and it started out as something very small, but it has grown to about 500,000 motorcyclists will converge on Sturgis, South Dakota. And if you ever spent any time out there, the riding, the scenery is incredibly gorgeous, especially if you've been a flatlander in Florida for a long time. There's something about the mountains. You feel them calling to you. There's a majesty to them. And it's a big party scene on one hand, if that's what you choose to do. It's a big motorcycle rally party scene, but it's also an opportunity to ride all over. The last time I went out there, we took a 550-mile side trip to Yellowstone Park, and I'll never forget that.
Well, so Patricia and I, my wife, went to Yellowstone for the first time this past September.
Wow.
So tell me about your recollection of Yellowstone.
Well, I'll say something I'm probably not supposed to say, but I'm being honest. I was on my motorcycle, and one of the big, large buffaloes was on the road. On the road. I'm on the road. Okay. I'm aware I don't want to hurt the animal. That's how I looked at it. I went by kind of slow and patted it. Now I realize what an idiot I was. Could have been killed. They can do like 30 miles an hour for short distances. And then I know one went viral a few years ago about a lady that, she's lucky she didn't get severely hurt, but it just picked her up and flung her like nothing. And I didn't realize it at the time. Like, this animal's clearly used to traffic and people, and probably was, but you're not supposed to take that chance.
But wasn't it like an out-of-world experience? I mean, looking at what Yellowstone looks like, the pools and the ponds that were bubbling.
Oh, yeah, you've got those sulfur pots, and so many variations of nature contained within that park. It really is something special. And if you go through like the valley part of it, and you've got the waterfalls, and we went over the Beartooth Mountains, 11,000 feet at the pass, and it actually began to hail on us, but a super dry, fine hail. It lasted about 5 minutes, and then the sun came back out. You look back down the mountain, and it literally looks like a shoestring, all the switchbacks all the way up. I'll never forget it.
Yeah, well, we were really impressed with Yellowstone. I would encourage everybody to take advantage of our national parks. I mean, somebody had the foresight many, many years ago to set them apart. I think it was Teddy Roosevelt that did a lot.
I think so, yeah.
And that it's really, when you go out there, it like completely takes you away from everyday life.
It really does. And there's something special about that. And yeah, being out in nature, I think, is something as humans we all need. And I don't think we all get enough of it. And maybe that's why this is kind of a kooky world we're living in.
I know. Well, all I know is I just keep putting one foot in front of the other and try to plan my next fun experience.
That's all you can do.
And actually, you and I have something in common because we really enjoy what we do.
Yes, I've been very blessed, and I'm sure that my middle school teachers are just absolutely amazed that I've made a living with my pie hole that they tried to zip shut so many times on my report card. Robbie tends to talk a little bit too much in class. Other than that, he's a good student. Every once in a while, I wanted to be noticed.
I know. Well, I've always had this attention span concern because after a couple minutes I lose it.
Because you're thinking about something else. Yeah, your mind. I know your mind's working very quickly.
So we're gonna wrap this up in a minute, but I just want to hear about your pickleball adventures.
Well, I still have a love affair with tennis, but I haven't just had the opportunity to play as often. So the pickleball thing is much more user-friendly in terms of you could go to any court, literally, and kind of walk on, and they'll kind of work you in. And that is really nice. So there's a sense of fun and community. I'm a golden retriever. I won't do a treadmill. I won't just go jog. But if you throw me a ball, I'll play with you all day. So you get some exercise. And I've had some fun with it and some success, and also some humbling times, too, to realize, you're not even close to good yet.
Yeah, well, I know our friends down in the villages have a tremendous pickleball, presence there in tournaments.
That's one of the groups that schooled me at a tournament right down the street here. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The guy says, how long have you been playing? I said, I know, about 3 months. And I said, what about you? He goes, oh, I've been playing tournament level for 3 years. I'm like, I didn't even know pickleball was around that long.
And just because they're 80 years old, don't underestimate their ability.
Well, there's a lot of
Kick your
truth to that, too. Yeah.
So anyhow, it's been wonderful having you on the show. I've been looking forward to it for a long time. And I just want to thank you for everything that you do for our community, because so many clients of ours and friends of ours listen to your show. They look forward to it. And I think it's so important to keep this going, where you can call in and talk to somebody. You're a friend. You give them feedback. You kind of help direct the conversation in a positive way. So I want to thank you for everything that you've done for our community in North Central Florida, and we're looking forward to another, 22 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, December will be 22. If I'm doing my math right. I think.
Okay. So anyhow, another 22 for Bob Rose and Jeffrey Meldon, and then we'll sail off into the sunset.
I'm telling you, it's been a good run so far. And Jeffrey, thank you for having me on. And I appreciate this opportunity. And I know that when you talk about your community, you're genuine about it, and you've done a lot for the community, and it doesn't go unnoticed.
Well, thank you very much. That's going to be a wrap for Meldon Law and Friends, and I'll see you next week. Thank you.
After the car accident, your personal life takes a toll when